Eraser sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Howdy, welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show here on WGNS. Coming with you, your host Wayne Blair, myself Rick Hall. We come to you every Tuesday, and we cover basically issues on the north end of the county, and kind of spurs out amongst that. It seems like weekly now, and especially like today. But Wayne, good day, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Had a good weekend camping, I hope.
I did. We watched it rain, watched it rain. The radar had no rain, but we watched it rain.
Took the grandchildren to an Easter egg hunt, and they were sopping wet when we got finished. So, but had a great time and enjoyed the weekend. And this morning really looks like spring may have finally sprung. So
Amen.
Looking forward to some warmer weather this week. So.
Yep. Hey, I want to make a little bit of an announcement. We've been throwing this thing around now for a while, but we're doing the Smyrna Historical Preservation Society. We've kind of been kicking it around, but we're going forward with that. And I got our P.O. box yesterday and doing a bank account today, and about to get our 501c3 filed. So it looks like it's going to come to fruition on that deal.
Well, when you get your website
everybody
up,
y'all listening,
then maybe the funds will start rolling in.
We got our first donations of $5,000.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
It kind of got us off the road and kicking a little bit.
You've taken this by the horns, my friend.
Well, I hope these two guests we got on today will donate as well. So
well,
we'll see
hey,
what they do.
You know, always looking for deep pockets.
That's right.
So, Rick, this morning we have a couple of great friends of yours, and and actually it's total of 4, but I think only 2 are going to be speaking today. But as far as we're concerned, we have a couple of heroes sitting with us. Yes, sir, you are. When you're willing to put yourselves in harm's way, especially to protect our children, you certainly are heroes. We're pleased that you're warriors as well. So this morning from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, we have a couple of 4 SROs, but 2 that'll be talking with us this morning is Sergeant Dustin Cox and Deputy Kerry Nelson, experienced, long-time servants, and just welcome this morning, gentlemen. We're pleased to have you.
Good to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Dustin, how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office now?
I've been a school resource officer for 15 years, a little over 15 years.
And you started off before that?
I did. I started off City of Laverne PD.
Yeah.
Left there in December of 2006, and that's when I became an SRO.
Gotcha. And Kerry, how about yourself?
Finishing in my 23rd year as an SRO.
Wow. Yeah.
It's just a calling. 37 years at the Sheriff's Office, 3 at Laverne, and 3 at MTSU prior to that. So my entire adult life in law enforcement. So.
Yeah, I did 25, and of course got out, and I got a real job in insurance now. So I always tell people.
Yeah, we overlapped.
I missed. Yeah, we did for a good while there. But I'd tell a story on Dustin. So Dustin was like, I used to work the Smyrna High football games before we had SROs, and he was that little guy saying, "Hey, I want to be a cop. I want to be a cop." How many times a day did you ever hear, "I want to be a cop"? Well, he graduated, put himself forward, and found out Walter State, and I think I actually found a gun belt and stuff for him, and he went and put himself through Walter State, got certified, and got on with Laverne. So he was one of the few that followed through, and I really look up to everything he's done.
Rick's the reason why I'm in this job.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't be in this job without Rick Hall.
Quite the compliment.
He was a great mentor to look up to when I was a kid. As a child, we get in trouble. He was always there. So I wouldn't be here without Rick Hall.
That's pretty cool. Rick and I, rather than read long bios, we try to get you to talk about yourself in the first segment, whatever you're willing to share, as far as how your journey from childhood to your present professional status.
Sure. Again, back in '05, after talking to Rick for numerous years, sent myself through police academy, went to Walter State. I thank my parents, because my parents are the one that paid for it. Decided that I want to go through my own route, so I don't have to have a police department or sheriff's department pay my way to go in. Graduated police academy and started my law enforcement career in the city of Laverne. Realized that my calling was to be with kids. I'm a kid at heart, and everybody who knows me knows I'm just a big kid running around helping these kids out. So became an SRO in December of '06, and I think I started at Eagleville School for 6 months. Realized that 35-minute drive every day to work, just wasn't happy with driving every morning and every afternoon. Then I transferred schools to Smyrna High School, where I graduated high school. So I was home. Nothing like showing up to school as an SRO your first day and seeing your principal and Mr. Rakes look at me every day and go, "You remember you was in my office every day?" I'm sure I was, Mr. Rakes.
What year?
I graduated in 1999.
Okay, cool.
So I was, it was great. Spent 4 years there. Then I went down to Rock Springs Middle School for a couple of years, and I found my home at Thurman Francis Arts Academy in Smyrna. Love it there. I've been there 12 years, I believe, 11, 12 years. Had the privilege of being in the same school as both my kids. So I got to see my oldest one from kindergarten through 8th grade, and my littlest one's in 7th grade.
That's cool.
So, I had the opportunity of seeing them every day, teaching them everything they need to know about school and safety, and just love being around kids. Just wake up every morning happy that I'm going to work.
What were your class number at the academy?
57, I believe. I remember that. 57.
Well, Walter State's different from.
Yes.
Oh, you went to the Walter State.
I went to Walter
you didn't go
State.
to the
East
State
Tennessee.
Academy.
I did not. I went to Walter State.
Okay. My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
Yeah, drove down there every Sunday.
Wow.
Stayed in a dorm with a roommate, and he was from Pulaski, so he would come by 8:40 and pick me up, and we'd take a trip Sunday night, and we had to be down there at a certain time Sunday, and they let us go home on Friday afternoons. Did it for, I think it was 8 weeks back then. It was an 8-week course.
But this is another thing that's crazy, because when I went through the academy, our roommate was from Pulaski. So here he goes and goes.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And has another guy from Pulaski. It was just weird.
And I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. No law enforcement. Had no duty belt. No weapon. Nothing. And again, I always look up to Rick. He said, "Hey, I got this, that. You take all my stuff with you." And man, I'm still doing it 17 years down the road.
Yep. Tell you what, not in law enforcement, haven't been for a long time, but I was class 146 at the Donaldson Academy.
What year was that?
1975. And that was the most fun 8 weeks I've ever had in my life, because all you did was, law enforcement, especially with the firearms and the skid pan was the most fun thing.
Fun.
I don't think they have that anymore.
Oh,
either.
yeah. It's still there.
Oh, do they? Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought they took it out for some reason.
Now, we have all that stuff. Even when I graduated 17 years ago, we did the skid pad, we did the chases and the cars there. We had an obstacle course that you had to complete in a certain amount of time. It was really good. Run every morning. It was a 2-mile run every morning before breakfast. So it was a real deal back then.
My younger days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Kerry, we got like 7 minutes left, so you can take that part of this first segment.
I don't know if I've had
37 years going.
7 minutes of interesting. Actually, family's from Murfreesboro and Laverne. I'm a military brat. My father moved out. My mother's from Murfreesboro. My father was from Laverne forever. First grade, fourth grade, half of 7th, half of 8th here in Rutherford County schools. When my father was about to retire, we moved back home, started at MTSU. About 6 months later, Started as a student officer at MTSU with so many other people. What a great learning ground. After that, 3 years, one would suspect graduating, but not, eventually did. But got hired by Laverne Police Department. They sent me to the academy. I don't even remember my class.
Do you not?
No, I think it was 416, but I would not swear to it. It's been so long. Ended up in law enforcement. Honestly, walked in MTSU. They were meeting with all the freshmen and they calling out majors. And I was going to be a mass communications major. And they call out mass communications. And about 400 people got up. I said, I'm not ever going to get a job. And then they call criminal justice administration. About 6 people got up. And I had an uncle who had been a deputy here in the 70s. I said, yeah, I can get a job there. And now 44 years later, I've always had a job. So left there, came to the sheriff's office, 37 years here, 7, 8 on patrol, spent some time at the courthouse. Rick will understand this. Spent 7 years in narcotics. And after that amount of time in law enforcement, it's easy to become cynical and brittle and just not loving. When Sheriff Jones started talking about the SRO program, it looked like something that was for me. So I went to the class, but I stayed in narcotics. And 3 years later, the opportunity when Blackman High School opened and my sons were going to, my first oldest son was starting at Blackman High School. I said it was time to take the plunge. And went and survived the first year by myself at Blackman High School. Stayed at Blackman High School for 6 years where both of my sons went through. Unlike Dustin, I don't know it was a good thing being there with my high school sons. I can tell you for a fact, my high school sons would say having your father in the school was not good for them.
Sure.
The number of their friends that would come and tattle on everything they did was absolutely great for me as a parent. Spent 6 years in a high school, loved it. Realized after 6 years in a high school, maybe it was time. Stewart Creek Elementary opened. And I went to Stewart Creek Elementary and stayed for 11 years. At that time, we had 2 elementaries for each elementary officer. I had 2 schools. So I had initially Smyrna Primary and Stewart Creek Elementary. Then I ended up with Stewartsboro and Stewart Creek Elementary. We went to a single school. I stayed at the Creek, which is still somewhat home to me. After 11 years there, I was given a chance to go to campus school, where they joke that SRO can be semi-retired officer, and that's probably the campus school job. However, my sons went there. I had a strong connection with it, and went there, and I'm finishing up my 6th year there. It is absolutely the job that saved me. After the years in narcotics, which will change a person after too long, the people you deal with, it's just not a positive area. Dealing with kids, being in schools, has been the best thing that may have ever happened. I've been so gifted and fortunate. I don't want to start naming the administrators I've worked with because I don't want to leave anybody out.
Sure.
But the principals I've worked with, starting with Gary Nixon at Blackman High School and Dr. Sherry King now at campus school, the partnership, I can't say enough about going to work every day. Just fulfilling. You can, even at campus school, you can always find a way to just change things, make them better, and go home loving life. I would be a poster child for an SRO program because I believe I'm training 2 new officers now. I train a lot of our officers in their first weeks, and I want to fill them with the passion and the opportunities that we have every day that you have nowhere else in law enforcement. The best and worst things that have ever happened to me in law enforcement have happened in these 23 years in schools. Things that are heartbreaking and things that I didn't do anything exceptional. We talked about the story. I talked to one of my high school girls for 20 minutes on 4 separate occasions. One when she was stealing a car from her mother and running away. And she gave me a little ride on her hood before she left. And then she comes back 3 years later and thanks me for talking to her when she was in detention and talking to her when she was upset and talks about winning a scholarship because I talked to her and writing about me. I still get emotional over it. I didn't do anything special for that girl. Nothing special. I gave her time and told her she was at a road fork in the road. She was at a bump in the road, and her future was ahead. Was all I did. And she came back 3 years to thank me for that. That doesn't happen anywhere else in law enforcement.
Pretty cool.
Still get emotional about it today. She's my girl.
I understand.
Was Matthew Roll your chief?
Of MTSU, he surely was. I love Matthew.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So with obviously with everything going on with the shootings that we've had in Uvalde, and of course Covenant School just happened a couple of weeks ago, and it's really putting you guys under the microscope. And I think Rutherford County was like one of the first in the state and pretty close in the nation as far as bringing on SROs and putting them in the schools, if I'm not correct, right?
Yeah, we were the first SRO program in the state of Tennessee. Early on, probably in the first 6 years, twice, a model agency for the entire country. Rutherford County, we at that time were sending great guys to great schools. We learned our crisis response from a school we sent guys in Phoenix. And I know we think, oh, why would we send them to Phoenix? Well, that's because 2 experts from Israel came, and no one knows protecting their children and their families like the Israelis. Came and taught the foundation of what we're still using today. We were cutting edge 20 years ago on our tactical responses. And what's amazing is now what we're doing is under a different name, but it's the standard, the gold standard of response. And we started 20 years ago teaching it. I was an instructor for NASRO, the National Association for School Resource Officers, for 12 years. I've taught in the country of Georgia, Guam, as far west as Hawaii, and as far east as Boston, and in probably 37 other states. And we're not one to reinvent the wheel. We'll steal the best ideas from anybody. And we were just open-minded to what the best practices are out there. And we've always had administrations, or almost always had administrations, that were supportive and wanted to move forward and protect our children. I mean, to this day, find me many districts with an officer in every elementary. Our county commission, our school board, and our sheriffs should be applauded for the things they've done to protect our kids. It doesn't happen many places. So we've been very fortunate in this community.
Well said.
With foresight.
No, I agree. And I hate that it takes things like this that all of a sudden highlights, because, obviously the state's now pushing a bill through to add funding and things for the add private schools to where they're going to have some kind of protection as well. But I just kudos to Rutherford County for what they started, obviously almost 30 years ago, with getting these SROs in and getting them the training like what you're talking about. You've been able to take that knowledge now and pass it on to other communities to catch us up, because it shows, I think, between, if you take the incident in Texas and Nashville, what the two sides of the coin, and off air, Kerry, you brought it up about it, so that either that sheep or the lamb versus the wolf mentality that you got to take in a situation, in which we're taught that in law enforcement, that you want to be the wolf, you don't want to lay down and let it happen. You're going to have to take aggression and make it happen. And it's the same thing in our school systems, that it needs to happen that way.
And we preach so hard. I'm sorry, I have 256 kids, and those are my kids. Right? Mm-hmm. Those are my children. And no one's going to come and hurt my children without going through me. And I know Dustin feels the same. And I'm hoping that and I truly believe, I've trained a lot of them, that every SRO in this county feels that way. These are our children, and no one's going to hurt them without intervening, without our intervention, right. Whichever way it may go.
And kudos to those Metro officers. They, I mean, no hesitation. They're in. They find the shooter and neutralize the shooter. And I mean, just warriors, heroes.
Well, they've set the bar. I mean, they've now set the bar that a lot of officers been upholding now for a while. But you got to see firsthand where the bar has been set for everybody else that hasn't been looking at it. They're going to get it that way.
And let's hope that prevents another Uvalde.
Amen.
And to their trainers, whoever had trained them up to respond like that, they had the personal courage. One of them was former military. You could surely tell that. But I'll go down to our sheriff's office. We're fortunate in our division to have 2 or 3 of the SWAT officers. Sean Jones pushes us, who's a sergeant in our division, pushes us. Troy Hooker over in the training division on the range. They push us to no end on tactics, on response, and then it's our job, Sergeant Cox as a supervisor and me as a field training officer, to put the mentality of and the expectation to put that training into effect.
Yep. Yeah. You listen to SROs Kerry Nelson and Sergeant Dustin Cox with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. We're going to take our first break. It's getting up to 75 today, so everybody open your windows or go outside, do something. It's finally nice out. But we're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back with you.
It was big news when Oakland and Riverdale schools opened their doors. Now, 50 years later, the first graduating classes are celebrating with a reunion the first weekend of June. If you are a friend or family of a 73 graduate, please be sure they are aware of this momentous event by informing them of our website to register.
Visit OaklandRiverdaleClass1973.com. Again, that's OaklandRiverdaleClass1973.com.
Absolute deadline is May 15th.
Hey Blue Raider fans, this is the week to get to Raider Tees. Through Saturday, save 25% off all regular priced items. This week, that's right, 25% off regular priced MTSU tees, polos, sweats, hats, and more. Online shoppers get 25% off at checkout by using the code SPRING. It's the Raider Tees 25% off spring sale through Saturday. They're located at 910 Richley Road. Just turn off Broad between Chewy's and Chili's.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
I'm Nicole Crum with U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Tennessee Valley Healthcare System. We are so excited to share with you that we have an upcoming nurse hiring fair on Wednesday, April 12th at our Nashville campus. This is our main VA hospital location that's located near Vanderbilt. Being a nurse at the VA has changed my life. It's been the most rewarding career I've ever had. Nurse hiring fair on Wednesday, April 12th at our Nashville campus at 1310 24th Avenue South, and we are just behind Vanderbilt. Follow signs to our main building.
It's Good Neighbor Events, brought to you by Cardinal Realty Solutions, the law offices of John Day, and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Now WGNS Good Neighbor Events. The Better Business Bureau's Shred Day is Saturday morning, April 22nd, 9 until noon, in the parking lot that's in front of Planet Fitness, just off the old Fort Parkway. They're also collecting furniture for Habitat for Humanity and canned food items for Greenhouse Ministries. The Better Business Bureau's Shred Day, Saturday, April 22nd, right there in front of Planet Fitness. And that's also Earth Day, which happens on the square from 10 until 2. Our hats off to Middle Tennessee Electric for their dedication to Earth Day. The Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Phone them and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. Call 1-800-RED-CROSS. Don't throw away Old Glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. And those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good Neighbor weather.
We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon, a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear, low near 45. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 52.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Rutherford County's 22nd annual Earth Day celebration is Saturday, April 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2 on the square. Check out local organic products, live music, and more. Free fun for the whole family, April 22nd on the square.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to the second segment of the Tuesday morning edition of the WGNS Roundtable with your host Rick Hall and myself, Wayne Blair. This morning it's a privilege and, gentlemen, an honor to have Sergeant Dustin Cox and Deputy Kerry Nelson, who is also a field training officer with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department in the SRO program. And God bless you for your service, especially with the recent events. Just so very happy to have you out there doing what you do.
We appreciate it again, man. It's part of our job, and I think every SRO can say that this is why we're here.
Yeah. When you're given the best job in law enforcement, it's going to have some caveats.
Well, there you go.
Exactly. So let's go into a little bit about what's going on as far as an SRO. What's a day-to-day look like, and what safety programs have you guys kind of got in place, or information we may pass along, because mostly we hope all of our kids are in school right now and we're talking to their parents. But what's some information you give our parents?
On a day-to-day basis, the SRO shows up to school. We tell these SROs they need to be there 30 minutes before school starts. And you're there 30 minutes after school ends. That's your full 8-hour day. Some schools, well, majority of schools, elementary, opens the doors at 6:45. So we try to advise these SROs 15 minutes early. You get there at 6:45, be there, be seen. Your patrol car needs to go in a spot where parents can see it, and kids can know that when they drop their kids off, they're safe, that there's a law enforcement officer in that school. We do perimeter checks. SROs are going around schools, checking the perimeter of the school, making sure all doors are latched, make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary sitting around that looks cautious. Then we make our ways into schools. We check the interior of the schools, all the doors, make sure they're secured and locked. And then when class changes, we're just out in the hallway. We run off a triad plus one, which we teach classes. We teach all kinds of different subjects. We can get into classrooms, teach about safety, teach about bicycle safety. We have a Halloween. Kudos to Kerry Nelson over here. He put a book out years ago, and it's Deputy Dan, Deputy Glenn book, which we teach all kindergarten and second graders right now about safety, about gun safety. It's in that book, bullying. So it's a good way to get in there, speak to your students, grow that relationship, build that rapport with your teachers, your faculty, and your students. There is some downtime, but we advise these SROs, and what I do is I go into gym. There's gym classes going on throughout the day. Nothing like playing dodgeball with a bunch of second graders trying to do their best to get you out first. When they get me out, it's like somebody won the Super Bowl. You get out, you as officers, I get mad. I'm like, you got me out. You cheated, and they laugh and giggle, and then, that's the best part of the job. So that's a day-to-day. What we do is we try to grow that relationship with these kids so they know they can trust us. And if something happens at home, at school, they trust to come to us and talk to us about it so we can help guide them to fix any issues.
Well, they get, in today's scenario, they get to see an officer, a deputy, from kindergarten all the way till they graduate.
Absolutely.
And so where children may not have had any exposure whatsoever to the law enforcement except through the media, they get to see you personally and firsthand, for the entire educational experience. And I think that just has got to be positive.
And that's the important thing about elementary. We make it very clear that these elementary SROs are setting setting the binder for what the future holds. Because when you change schools, you're changing SROs. They grow that relationship. I want you to come to high school with me. We hear that all the time. We can't, but growing that relationship as a kindergarten age to K through elementary, when they get to middle school, that student already knows that police officer's at that school, and they go and introduce themselves to the SRO, and they grow that rapport with that SRO. Same thing when they go to high school. So elementary, you're building that foundation as an SRO. So that's why it's very important. High school guys are a little bit more busier with issues that's going on to high school kids, but that's why I tell my guys I supervise, look, it's very important for you to be out I know it's hard to see every kid. You're looking at 1,200 kids, it's hard. However, get out in the cafeteria, show your face. Sometimes we do stuff outside of our job. There's times I know SROs are going in the cafeteria helping serving food. I've seen them, get ketchup for kids, helping them open their cartons of milk. That's doing nothing but building that special relationship with the police officer and the student.
Sure.
Yep. So, Kerry, as far as a parent goes, because we're all obviously sitting here, we've been parents, and we're hassled with, we've got to get to work on time. We've got to make sure that our kids got everything. Their shoes are on the right feet. They got their book bag, if they got something to eat, and if they've happened to brush their hair or their teeth that morning. So what can a parent just take a deep breath, look back, and go, hey, this is what I need to do, or this is not what I need to look at on the way to school, or spend that last few minutes with my kids and pass on?
The first thing I'm going to tell you, and all of our parents, and it's so easy to get caught up in everything that's going on around us. And Dustin hit on the first thing, is our visibility. I recognize, parents, you are leaving the most valuable thing in your life with me. You are leaving your children with me. So the first thing you can do is know that the SROs recognize our responsibility. But when you're pulling into school as police officers, we've always been trained to be aware of our surroundings. I teach my teachers that when you pull in that parking lot, if I pull into the parking lot of a convenience store as a police officer, the first thing I'm doing is looking where the clerk is, who's in the parking lot, taking it all in, and to make sure the situation appears safe, nothing amiss. So I teach my teachers this, to be aware. So as you're pulling in, if you notice a car that was parked down the road sitting and looks suspicious, let us know. If you notice somebody that's around campus that is unfamiliar to you, let us know. My new catchphrase for my kids and my faculty is, be aware but not afraid. You don't need to live your life in daily fear of something bad happening, but you can be when you pull into Walmart as a parent. You don't park next to that panel van with the 5 guys and the suspicious odor coming out of it. You park on the other side in the well lit and walk into there. Let's start from the outside and work in. If you're alert and aware when you bring your kids, let us know if you know anything amiss. We've done our perimeter checks. If we're doing our job, we are out there for 2 reasons: making sure nothing suspicious happens, but to reassure you that we are there to protect your children. It's okay. Go to work and know we are going to protect your children. When you pick them up, or when you're at an after-school activity, if you go to those football games at night, those basketball games, we have had quite a few problems in parking lots after games. When you come out, survey that parking lot. Look for anything suspicious. Let us know. I joke with my faculty, yeah, maybe my work ethic makes it look like it's a volunteer job, but I'm getting paid for this. I don't mind checking on something that just made you feel uncomfortable. Now, my faculty will tell you that they'll call me out after I tell them that. They'll call me out and I go, you called me for this? But they know that that's my sense of humor. I've told them I would rather go out and check on something suspicious 10, 15, 20 times than miss the one I need to. So be aware, not afraid. Don't hesitate. Call the school and say, hey, patch me through to my SRO, or call the sheriff's office and say, I need my SRO to know this. We will follow up on what you see or notice. It's imperative.
So do y'all do drills or anything that with the kids or the faculty on? I know we have in-service days with faculty. Is there classes taught that you guys do with the faculty members, or how's that work?
We do. We have 2 drills a year. We have 1 each semester. We have a fall drill and a spring drill. We also have tabletops, which before our drill weeks, we go over to the safety teams. Every school has their safety teams. We go over drill scenarios with them, and then once in the fall, once in the spring, we do a school-wide drill with all the students, whether it be a code yellow, code red, just to prepare them. It's just like in life, when you're trying to learn something, it's best to get out and do it yourself. And when we teach these teachers twice a year, when something occurs in the schools and it's not a drill, they're familiar with it, they're aware, they know how to do it because we do it twice a year. So there are drills that we teach these kids and these students. The SRO division has a great PowerPoint video. It teaches these kids more on an elementary level on what to do if a scenario occurs. So yes, these kids and these teachers are aware if something bad occurs in schools.
Talking about it with the children, do you think that empowers them more with knowledge rather than scares them?
Oh, absolutely, because we have a mandatory curriculum that we're teaching in elementary. Included in that mandatory curriculum is in kindergarten, prior to the first drill, is discussing with those 5-year-olds what the codes are. And we've got 2 characters, Deputy Dan, Deputy Glenn, after a couple local businesses who made sizable donations, and we have some teaching tools. And teaching those kids what the drills mean, what the expectations of them are. And I encourage everyone in our elementaries, you teach this prior to the first drill. Let's take away the mystery and the fear of the drill. If you're being asked to sit in the corner and be very quiet, you're going to ask why. And if we say something, just preparation, anytime we can take away the fear from them, that's what I want to do. And we do it in a age-appropriate way. And you'll still have some children that don't understand or they'll be upset. And then leads you to a counseling session, and you talk to those kids and go, here's why we do it. I don't think it'll ever happen here, but if it does, I've got you need to know that you need to do what the teacher says and follow instructions, because you can be part of keeping this school safe by sitting very quietly or by leaving with the teacher in the way that they tell you. Knowledge is power, and it takes away that apprehension in our babies. And by babies, I mean my kindergarten babies.
Right.
Exactly right. You listen to SROs for Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Dustin Cox and Carrie Nelson. We're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back with you in just a minute.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and a decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help. This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center, across the street from the hospital and the Ascend Federal Credit Building.
Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Bell Jewelers Estate Sale.
Thursday, April the 20th.
Bell Jewelers Estate Sale.
It's just a one-day event. We have a company that we've done business with for years. They travel all over the world buying various antique and estate pieces, and they'll be here Thursday, April the 20th.
Bell Jewelers Estate Sale.
We never know what we're going to get until it arrives. Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad Street, across from Toots.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Seniors helping seniors, in-home care services.
This is Danielle Rutherford. We make your life easier by providing compassionate care in the comfort of your own home.
Seniors helping seniors. Clean my house. Online at shsmiddletn.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning again, and welcome back to the third and final segment of the Tuesday morning edition of the WGNS Roundtable with your host Rick Hall and myself, Wayne Blair. This morning our guests are from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, SROs Sergeant Dustin Cox and Deputy Kerry Nelson, who's also a field training officer. And you've shared some interesting tidbits this morning. And I think this third segment, what did you decide you want to share with us?
Dustin?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, we need to make sure the parents are aware, because when we teach these kids and or teachers about the school safety issues we have in school, we teach during a code red, during an intruder drills that we teach these kids to hide, flight, and fight. So the first one, if something happens in the schools, we teach these kids just to hide. You get in a classroom, like Kerry Nelson said, you be quiet. You listen to your teacher. You get really quiet so nobody knows you're in that room. You don't open the door for anybody. You stay quiet, not a whisper. And then we teach the flight. As a teacher, the teacher makes that decision in the classroom. And we teach that teacher, if there's an opportunity for you to flee the school, have a plan. Before school starts, as a teacher, you should look outside and go, if something happens, where am I going? We try to train these teachers that, if you plan before, you're going to know what you're going to do. If you walk in not planning, that's when your brain's just going to just go crazy and don't know what to do, and you're going to freeze. So find some cover. Run outside, find a tree line, find a neighborhood with houses.
Hopefully they've been trained to where to go to specifically.
Yes.
And there are some things, any parent has a question, feel free to ask your SRO. I work for your children first, but I work for you second. I realize that. Come ask me what we're teaching, how we're teaching it. And I'll give you the example of, this is how I teach my 5-year-olds. All right, guys, I don't think, and I apologize to anybody that's offended by this, but this is how, if you want to know how we teach these kids, I don't think anything bad will ever happen at our school. I hope and pray every day it doesn't. But you need to know that if something were bad here, first of all, I'm here to protect you, and I'm going to do that. But if some bad person were to come to our school, the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to hear code red, a lockdown. Your teacher, and I'll give the name, is going to shut the door and cover the window, and then you're going to go to the corner of the room and you're going to be very, very quiet, because you want to be so quiet the bad guy won't think you're there and he'll go someplace else. Then, if the bad guy, let's pretend you're me and you're big and clumsy and I'll trip over a chair, and I go, and he hears somebody fall or trips on a chair and he knows you're in there. Your teacher may say, come on guys, we're getting out of here. It's called flight. And we're going to run away. And we're going to go to it, and she knows exactly where to take you to a safe spot. But guys, there's one other thing the teacher may ask you to do. And I'm going to tell you, I don't ever want to see this in school, and it's not an answer to many things. But if the clumsy person like me falls and they hurt themselves and we can't run away, or we have somebody in our room who's unable to flight, unable to leave, and the bad guy were to get in your room, your teacher may ask you to fight him. No, fighting is not a good idea. Do not put, my angels, do not put your hands on other children in this school. But if a bad guy were to come in and your teacher says, get him, every one of you, and you got my permission to bite him, poke him in the eye, whatever you've got to do, and all of you. And of course, all my 5-year-old boys are going, yeah, yeah. And all my 5-year-old girls are going, nowadays are going, yeah, yeah. And I will tell you what I tell my teachers. And I would say this to a parent and I know how hard it is to hear me tell you to tell your 5-year-old children to attack someone. But if you believe that someone who has forced their way into your school, forced their way into that classroom, is going to have a miraculous change of heart and not hurt you, then we need to talk about reality in life. My teachers know the only bad, whether they choose to hide or flight, that is their discretion. The school board has empowered them with, and they're so fortunate, has empowered them with the ability to make that decision, not just to sit and hide. They can get out of Dodge if they think that's the best idea. But to sit and cower like a sheep and hope that this person has changed their mind is not going to happen. Virginia Tech taught us that, where the students were executed in college level. I don't know if my 22 kindergartners and my teacher can overcome an intruder or not, but I know that they will be powerful. Dave Grossman is a international famous educator on school shootings, and The Mind of a Killer is one of his books. And he says that an army of deer led by a lion will always defeat an army of lion led by a deer. My educators are my lion. They are my lions. And if someone comes to hurt them, I have full faith in the Rutherford County educators. They're going to lead their children. They're going to overcome the intruder. And I'm obviously not still there, or the intruder wouldn't have gotten in that room. Mm-hmm. And the first law enforcement officer that gets there is going to find an intruder in Rutherford County that's not hurting anybody, because my kids and my faculty overcame him.
I agree 100%. I think a lot of, I mean, I want to bring up like the thing that Covenant School, we've lost all vision of what happened there and the tragedy that's went on and things we can learn from that because of 3 individuals at the state capitol right now. It seems like they have drawn all the attention towards that 3 when we need it back on what the real issue is here, and it's our schools and our kids and everything else. And I think we got a text a while ago. They asked as far as obviously now with the highlight of that, if certain things or barricades or things that we can use. And I know Rutherford County implemented several years ago. If you look now, there are big round balls at the entrances now and major egress and points of the schools. That's to keep vehicles and things out of the way. We went several years ago. We went to the locked door system where you've got the doorbell that you got to show ID or show yourself on camera before they can let you in and things like that. So I think things are being done, but obviously if we had unlimited budgets, there would be all kinds of extra things and more SROs and things like that. And I mean, it may even be, I know things are being thrown out now about retired law enforcement and you know, veterans that are retired, that they're volunteer time and they're sitting out front and things like that. And I think that's more of the inner city type schools that see more conflict than maybe what we've got. But I know things are being thrown around, and the state has just approved some money, a bill that went through to increase funding and for officers and things like that for these schools. So hopefully now we'll get some money behind it. And I know Rutherford County, if you're keeping up with the news lately, the deficit is about $67 million for schools this year, and we're facing over the next 3 years, Wayne, is about $700 million we've got to come up with.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're packed at the gills everywhere, and three new high school additions presently proposed. Need another elementary. Probably need another high school. We definitely need another middle school. We have 2 of the largest middle schools in the state, I think, with Blackman and Oakland, 1,500 middle schoolers. I can't imagine being on a campus with 1,500 middle schoolers.
I'm with you. I'm a high school and elementary guy. The high school kids are as slow and lethargic as me, and the elementary kids are lovable. Apologies to anyone with a child between 12 and 15. But they're fast, they're quick, and they think like teenagers.
Well, no.
Shrill.
And the hormones are raging, aren't they?
Now, the middle school officers are their own special breed.
Right. And I would love to see, 4 SROs in the high schools, at least 3 in the middle, and at least 2 in elementaries. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, our high school guys are 2 in a school now with like 2,700. They are nonstop. And the big picture is, and we talked briefly about the triad. We teach and we teach character education in law enforcement and law-related topics. We teach so the impart knowledge, but so the children get to know us. That starts that relationship 22 at a time. If they know us, will they come and talk to us when they have a problem? That prevents them from making bad decisions. And then the base of our triangle is law enforcement. And an effective these guys are over here going, I've already heard this once. An effective SRO is pushing the sides of teaching and counseling to make if we're making 50 arrests in a high school, that's not success. Arrest is a failure on the kids and us. And if we're so busy running from fire to fire, how can we build relationships? So that's what we're running into now. 2000, I started at Blackman High School with 1,400 kids. 2001, I had 1,550, and I had a partner. Yeah, we taught 4 or 5 classes a week. I've had to accept in my old age, these high school guys just can't do it now. If they can get into 1 or 2 classes a week, I'm proud of them. And I beg them to do that in our training portion. That's where you build the relationship. It's so important. If nothing else, we're teaching them, please don't do these things at school so I don't have to arrest you. Don't make me be the policeman. And that's the foundation of keeping us safe, is those relationships. My kids, Dustin said it, elementary, I make my kids love me so much when they go to middle school, they automatically assume that next guy is going to love them too. Yeah. Now, middle school guys are a little more edgy, a little more law enforcement. Then they get to high school, they go, you're not Officer Nelson. No, I'm not.
Well, and I remember my years in law enforcement, and I did 18 as a detective, that how much of a resource the SROs were. So when we had things that happened, I know a lot of times first thing I did was making a call out to Dustin or somebody in the SRO divisions to start trying to get some intel or what they're hearing through the students, because people talk, people brag, and a lot of times it's bragging at school and things, and it's an extremely good resource that we had as far as law enforcement goes, is these guys in the schools being able to provide us information. And two, when we've got a victim in a bad situation or a home life or something like that, I don't know how many times they come to y'all first, and y'all are the first report on it, and you find out about it. So it's the good that goes on is just enormous that they're able to provide for our county.
And so much on social media kind of gives you a clue sometimes, even though you may not see it, but maybe another student sees it and says, hey, maybe I ought to tell somebody.
You'll be surprised that a lot of SROs have that relationship with these kids, and they'll come to you first thing in the morning and go, hey, I don't want anybody to know, but this is what's on social media last night. I wanted to show you. That's nothing but they trust you.
Yeah.
And when they trust you, they will share anything with you, whether it's home life that you can help assist or whether it's something to do with school safety. We get it first intel with that, and we run with that. So that relationship with the kids, that's why it's so important as SROs, is to grow that relationship because of that reason.
Certainly.
Yep. Y'all got any fundraisers coming up? We're getting down on our time here, but I know, Dustin, if you're fundraising, y'all are not 100% funded by the county, so there's a ton of projects and things that y'all do to raise money for your schools and your kids. So if you got anything coming up?
We just finished our special needs event Friday before spring break, and all these special needs kids in the county got to take a field trip. We have one SRO who did a magic show. Outstanding. Shout out to you, Chris Irwin, for doing that magic show with these kids. Next fundraiser, hopefully, there's a process we got to get approved through the Sheriff's Department, but hopefully we'll be able to do the golf tournament again in September. And that money funds our special needs field trip that we give every year, and also helps fund the scholarships fund. We give scholarships to every high schools. There's 2 students at high school. What happened was the high schools write a letter to the SRO. We gather all the letters, reread them, and we choose 2 students for a $1,000 scholarship.
Cool.
So that helps fund that as well. So,
would you like to introduce your 2 deputies back here?
I do, and I'm so excited. I have Deputy Harper, who came to us through Bedford County, and she's going to be at Oakland High School soon, and then deputy workman, and he is headed to Siegel High School once he finishes his training, and they're going to do it. I've been very, very impressed with him. We talked earlier about the pay raise. Let me tell you, we got him because of the pay raise.
Right. Good.
And we're not filling them with bodies now. This has put us to a point of being competitive and getting better than bodies. And yeah, both of them are a little better than just bodies. The other thing I would say is in reference to the text, we are constantly looking and reviewing what we can do in schools. New construction's obviously always easier to incorporate changes and make them safer. I'm in the oldest school in Rutherford County, 1929. We work really hard, and luckily I have an excellent PTO, and we're going to be taking some big steps forward in ours because of my PTO. But I know that I saw a quote, $75,000 to put each high school for resistant film, not changing glass, just putting a film over it. $75K per high school. Gosh, we have 50 schools. The law enforcement parent SRO part of me goes, money's no object. The guy that has a house in Rutherford County and pays property tax goes, whew, how much can we do? So it's always and I will tell you, and I'm not saying this because he's here, but my entire time in this division, the amount of money Rutherford County spends per student is so much lower than the state average, and the bang they get for their buck is astonishing.
Concur.
These guys squeak. They will squeak a dollar bill till it screams, and they don't think money's being wasted at your local government level here.
Well, at the county, I think they spend on average about $4.50, and Murfreesboro City spends about $10.
Yep. Right. And
so
school systems are both excellent.
That's a big difference. Yeah. But well, hey, I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for coming on, and you always got a mic open here. If y'all got something going on or need something said, please let us know. And
God bless you, deputies.
We appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for
Thanks
having
for
us.
sending your kids to me. I love it.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our show today, and we'll be back with you again next Tuesday at our regular time at 9 a.m. Have a great day.